button. Yeah, so we're recording now for educational and promotional purposes and for documentation. Welcome, everyone. I'm Edwin Rutsch. I'm the director of the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy, and I've been working for something like 14 years on how do we build a more empathic society and culture. And so what we're doing today, this is our intro cafe. We're doing intro cafes to our training. We have a 5-week training, and this is an intro to that. And then I'm also running for Congress as the empathy candidate. So I was going to talk a little bit about that. And hey, Dwayne. Good morning. And then we're also kind of shifting the topic a little bit today too, and I'll speak a little bit more about that shift in the discussion topic. So let me, there's a couple of people still popping in. Larry, I'm going to add you as co-host so you can let people in. So maybe we can just get started. If you want to call on people, Bill, to share your name, your location, and why you're attending today. And I'll just start. Edwin Rutsch from the San Francisco Bay Area. And I just find that empathy is kind of the core value that's missing in our society. And if we can create a more empathic culture and society, I think it'll just contribute to greater well-being. And the empathy circle practice that we do, I find is the kind of one of the best first step gateway practices to building that empathic culture and society. So Bill, do you want to?
Sure. Well, introduce, my name is Bill Filler. I'm a retired special education teacher and for almost 40 years. And so in my work, listening was crucial to helping my students who are emotionally disturbed overcome that and function in in society. So I've seen this, and I'm very interested in getting it as a regular practice in schools. I'm also in the San Francisco Bay Area. Maria?
Hi, so my name is Maria Gabriela. I'm from Brazil, but now I'm based in Italy. So I was raised in a family that we didn't use to talk too much and have conversations. So I started, after I go to university, I started studying empathy and nonviolent communication, and in a way to better express myself and also understand and receive from others. So for me, empathy is a way of knowing myself and also connecting with others. So this is why I am here.
Great, welcome. Jang? You're muted.
Yeah, I'm here. Okay, good evening from Nigeria already. That's my location. And my full name is Jang Augustine. And I developed interest on empathy because over time I've been engaging in activities, humanitarian activities. I do conduct trauma trainings, counseling sessions, as well as I engage more in working with vulnerable people. So over time, parts of our trainings and parts of our engagements, at some point I went for a training, I think in Rwanda, where I learned more about healing and rebuilding our community, where empathy is also like one full session that we took to learn the intrigues and the big parts of the principles of empathy, which got my attention, and I feel I want to learn more, engage more in it, because in our society today, especially in Nigeria, we have had a lot, and my work involves communicating with people, listening more every day. So that's why I need this to build myself more, especially on learning empathy.
Well, welcome. Glad to have you here, and hope that I think you will find this a useful tool for you. So we'll see. Yeah. Letitia?
Hello, my name is Laetitia, and I'm from France. I live in Martinique, and I'm very interested in empathy and nonviolent communication. I would like to learn more about it, to be able to spread it and to have a better communication and to work on charities or, well, all of that.
Great. Well, again, hope you find something useful here. I think you will. Jeroen?
Oh yeah. So I'm Jeroen Lichtner from the Netherlands, and I'm actually an engineer. I did a university study for engineering, and then I started also, like in my personal life, I really had like struggling with social interaction and stuff. So I started looking for things, and then I came eventually to nonviolent communication and also Carl Rogers. At the same time, I was also doing research in on human effective like computing, like analyzing people from camera and stuff in university. But the academic career, I really didn't see any future, and I thought, well, I really want to pursue like I don't think there was any space for like this kind of research, so I just decided to work for myself or start, and at the same time like focusing on learning more about empathy. And also I found out I'm quite good at writing, so, and I enjoy it a lot, and I want to see how I can use that to make more empathy, the power of empathy more well known. That's what I really believe in.
Great. Well, welcome. Glad to have you with us. Dwayne?
Hi. Hi, my name is Dwayne Hearn. I live in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I'm also a empathy circle facilitator. And my interest in the empathy movement is first and foremost for my own personal growth and development. And second, I'd like to, contribute to helping to build an empathy movement in our country and actually throughout the world. So those are my primary reasons for being here today.
Great. Well, welcome again. Larry?
I am Larry in Florida, and I'm a retired occupational therapist. And I find that empathy is kind of the missing link, or the kind of underdeveloped ingredient in a human civilization actually being able to live at peace with one another. And empathy is kind of this curious ingredient or value that only really, really works when it's shared. And I find that the empathy circles that Edwin has created are the fastest, easiest, simplest way for humans to experience a mutual empathy and recognize it and practice it and live it. So that's why I'm here. Thank you.
Great, Larry. Great to have you here. Anne?
Yeah, I'm Anne Jordan. I'm in the southwest of England, and I am also an empathy circle facilitator and part of the team. And I'm here because I just think there's something really precious that happens in an empathy circle, which inspires people and connects people in a way that we don't normally have ready access to in our society these days. And that those connections and collaborations and understanding of one another and improved ability to speak so that we're understood, express ourselves, and to listen to others and try to understand others are really crucial to solve or to address the kind of catastrophic situation that we're in on this planet at the moment. That's me.
Okay, great. Thanks. Welcome again. Valerie?
Hi, good morning, everyone. I have attended one full sort of cohort session in January, and I am attending for the second time because I really want to get more depth in terms of my practice in empathy, so that when I'm actually practicing it, it has more resonance and I understand it on a more physiological level. And so I am joining from a little town called New Westminster in Canada. And that's it. I'm just really looking forward to this. Thank you.
Great. Great to have you here, Valerie. All right. Divine, can you hear us? You just joined. Can you hear us? You're muted, Divine. Can you unmute? Okay. So Divine may not have connected or something. Okay. So Edwin, I'll give it back over to you. I don't know what. I'll try to message here in chat.
Okay, thanks everyone for the intros, and let me just give a little overview of what we're going to be doing. So we just did the participant introductions. You're going to give a little presentation just for a few minutes, then we'll just review quickly the how-to empathy circle, and then we'll go into our breakout rooms. We'll be doing 2 breakout rooms, and then we'll have a little debrief, and we're going for about an hour and 45 minutes more. So it's 2 hours for the cafe today. So what I'm going to, we're going to go into the presentation and part, and at this time slot, we have usually had an intro to the how to take part in the training, and we review the website, the training website, and there's the link there, bestempathytraining.com. And then I'm also running for Congress as the empathy candidate here in the San Francisco Bay Area. So I'm going to mention a little bit about that. So let me do a screen share here of our training website. You don't need to go there, but I'll just quickly review this. You go to bestempathytraining.com, and all the information about how to take part in the training is there. There's a 20-minute video that you can review here. Check that out, and that kind of covers everything in the website. You keep scrolling down, it tells you, you need to take 2 of these circles, like taking part in the circle today counts as one of the 2 prerequisites for taking the training. And then there's going to be another one there on Saturdays and Mondays. So there's going to be there's in the same time slot, and the same URL is Intro Cafe on next Monday. And you can just scroll down and you'll see we have usually on Saturdays or Mondays, we have the trainings, and you can go to the sign up page for the next training starts April 9th, and just click there, and there's a sign up page, and we just set that up. Do you want to say anything about that, Bill, since you're one of the main organizers for it?
Well, just that we'll be starting on April 9th, but prior to that, we'll be having a cafe like this one. So you can get your circles in and or just find out what it's all about, and hope to see you in the training. Anne? Yeah, go ahead.
I think you mean May 9th, don't you?
Oh, did I say April?
Well, I think.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's April 9th. It should be May 9th. Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's April. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I put that in there. So yeah, it'll be changed to May 9th. Okay, great. Yeah. So for every Monday until May 9th, there'll be an intro cafe on Monday. So we'll fix that. So, and then the other part, so you can just go there. The link is in the description. You can, in the chat, you can go there, bookmark that, review that at your own leisure. And then you can also go to edwinforcongress.com. So this is my campaign to run for Congress, and you can go check that out. It would be great if you can see more about me under the Meet Edwin. You can donate. There's a donate section at the end, and you can also click on the volunteer page, and there's information on how to volunteer for the campaign. So I'm not going to go too much into all that because we want to get into the empathy circles. And so when I was thinking about what the training that we're doing and the campaign, it all really fits under the topic of building an empathy movement. Like, how do we go about building a movement to create more empathy in the world, and actually, you know, how do we build that movement? So that's actually going to be the topic for our Empathy Cafe discussion, and I'm going to put that question in there. Where are we at? So that's going to be just to remind everyone. So how might we build the empathy movement? It can be, we can talk about anything that you would like, hey, we need an empathy movement. No, we don't need an empathy movement. You know, whatever's on your mind about that. So that's going to be the topic for our Empathy Cafe. And for those who haven't done an empathy circle before, I'll just give a quick introduction to it. We have a video that explains the process, but at the core, there'll be one speaker. So someone's going to be the speaker. They're going to select their listener, and you speak on the topic of you know, how do we build this empathy movement? You share maybe an idea or two, you know, which is about 45 seconds to a minute at the maximum. And then you pause, and your listener is going to reflect back their understanding of what you said. And you check, did they really get what I was saying? If they did, you can continue with your thoughts. If they didn't really understand you, you can say it again in maybe different words, and then check again until, you know, say it until they really understand you, then continue. And we'll have a facilitator in both rooms who will keep the time of 5 minutes. They'll hold up a sign or something to let you know when your time is up. And then when your time is up or you have nothing else to say, you can say, I feel fully heard. And then the listener will select who they speak to, and then you'll speak to them, or just keep going around like that for the time allotted, which is going to be about an hour and 15 minutes. And then I'll send a notice just before we close and come back to the full group to debrief. So that's it in a nutshell. The best way is just to get into the circle and just observe how it's done. And the facilitator will be the first listener, just so that they can model the listening. And we'll have 2 groups. And let me just see here. They'll create these groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Second here. So the first group, Dwayne, do you feel like facilitating? You're up for facilitating? I don't want to put you on the spot, but
Sure, I will.
okay.
Facilitate.
And the second group, Bill?
Sure.
Do you want to do that? And let me see. So it would be 2 groups. And we have our topic and the 5-minute turns, and I think we're ready to go into the rooms.
Okay.
And here we go. See, one room will stay here. So here we go. So I think this is our group. We're 6 in this group. So, yep, it's all yours, Dwayne.
Okay. Haven't spoken that much this morning, so just like to welcome everybody to our Empathy Circle Cafe. Just as a quick, my name is Dwayne Hearn. I'm going to be facilitating today. As a really quick refresher on the how-to, there's going to be a active listener. There'll be a speaker. The speaker will have 5 minutes to talk about how to build the empathy movement or whatever is alive for you today. We ask that you speak in, a couple short sentences to allow the person who's reflecting back to reflect back what you're sharing. We asked the other participants in the group are silent listeners. And so we asked that, again, just listen attentively to what's going on. Want to make sure that the person who's the listener, to make sure that when I'm reflecting back, that I'm only reflecting back what the speaker is saying without adding any additional commentary or value judgments or raising additional questions when I'm the person reflecting back. I'm also going to be the timekeeper, and so when we're when your time is almost up, I'll hold up the timer, and then a bell will go off letting you know that you finished. Again, I'm going to be the first listener, and I'd like to ask for a volunteer who'd like to be the first speaker.
I can go.
Okay. All right. And so let me just quickly, Maria is going to be our first speaker.
And if you're, just a quick note, if you're a silent listener, you can take notes. I put a Google Doc there where you can take notes about today's meeting. So it's in the chat.
Okay. All right. Are you ready, Maria?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So just checking in, my heart's beating really fast right now because it's been a long time since I participated in a group. That makes a lot of sense for me. So you might sense in my voice some excitement and also anxiety.
Thank you, Maria. Maria stated that it's been quite a while since she's participated in a meeting that has meaning for her. And so she's really excited, our heart's beating, and we may even be able to tell by the inflections in her voice that she's excited about doing this.
Yeah, and so I might take a little time. So for me, spreading around empathy, it's a way that I can connect with the life that is inside me and inside of other people, and creating meaningful relationships. Because as I said before, my family were not much talkative about feelings, about dreams or anything. So we used to have superficial conversations. And once I grew up, I realized how important it is not to take for me some things and not to express things with angry or anything else, but trying to connect first with myself and then being able to connect with each other. Okay, I'm gonna pause.
Okay, thank you. Sharing empathy with others is a way to connect with what's alive in you and also what's alive in other people. And it's important. And you shared the example of your experience growing up in a household where you may not have been allowed to communicate as openly as you would have preferred. And so that created some challenges because you wanted to be able to express yourself and let your feelings out. And so this is an opportunity for you to express yourself. I may have missed a little.
Yes, and also pay it forward for but by my experiences pass this to other people. In a way, we can create a more peaceful and loving society and also families. And in a way, we can raise kids just to be kids, not putting our judgments, criticizing and everything over them. So I believe we can heal ourselves as adults, giving us empathy and receiving empathy and giving others empathy. It's also a way we can raise the new generations.
Okay. Being able to share empathy is a way to help create a different experience for the children that are coming up in the world, that we can move away from like judgments and away. I apologize. I need to ask you to be able to, like, if you can repeat what you said and then to remember to pause after a few ideas. Thank you. My
Yes, of
apologies.
course. So I was saying also empathy is a way of paying it forward based on my experience, being able to contribute to more loving and peaceful world and families.
Empathy is a way of paying it forward to be able to contribute to being able to building a more loving and peaceful world, first within families and then spreading out to the rest of the world.
And yeah, that's it. I feel fully heard. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Maria. And let me stop the clock. Thank you. And I'm going to be the next speaker. And I was wondering, Leticia, if you would like to be my listener.
Yes, of course. I'm listening.
Thank you. Let's see. I will speak actually to both issues, how to contribute to building a culture or empathy movement, and also what's alive for me. Pause there.
You're gonna answer to the question Edwin, asked, which is what is alive for you and how we might build the empathy movement.
Yes, thank you. To begin with, what's alive for me, I haven't participated in any empathy circles for a while, so it's a little bit challenging for me to get started this morning, but I'm on my way.
You said it's been a while you didn't participate to an empathic cycle, and you sorry, I don't have the word. You said it's a bit challenging today for you.
Mm-hmm. To get started, but I'm on my way.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
To get started, but it's on your way.
Yes. And on a side note, on most of our screens, we have a closed caption button on the bottom, the CC, and that may be helpful to people in helping to reflect back.
Can you repeat? Sorry, I didn't understood the beginning.
On a side note,
okay.
On our screens, generally there's a closed caption button on the bottom of the screen, and that might be helpful for some of us in reflecting back what the speaker is saying. I just wanted to remind everyone of that.
You said there is a caption button on the screen, and it might be easier for everybody to use it, and you want to remind it to express that.
Yes,
is that what you said?
Yes, that's what I was saying. It might be a useful tool for everyone.
Which button is it? Sorry.
It's the CC button above the live transcript.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you very much. It's easier.
Thank you. And in terms of building an empathy movement, I think participating in these types of conversations, these cafes, is an important first step.
To participate to this cafe is an important first step
In helping to contribute to building an empathy movement.
To help to build an empathy movement.
And the other thing that I think is really important for me is my other thing that I want to be aware of is on a daily basis, how can I be more empathetic and first interacting with myself and then everyone that I come in contact with throughout the day.
You ask you the question how empathy can help you in your personal life to connect empathically with yourself and to connect with other people you are in contact with on your everyday life with
Yes,
empathy.
it's a little difference, and that's one of the ways that I can also help contribute to building an empathy movement by my daily practice of being more compassionately empathetic.
So you practice how to be more empathic on your daily life, and this exercise today is very good to build that for you.
Well, actually, in my day-to-day life, this is one of the tools, but for me, most importantly, being able to be more empathetic, more compassionately empathetic in my everyday life with everyone that I come in contact with.
So it's good for you because it gives you keys. It gives you practice to be more empathic on your everyday life with people you are in contact with, and to build this empathy.
Yes, I've feel heard to my satisfaction. My time is up, and so now, Leticia, you become the speaker, and it's your chance to pick someone to be your active listener, and then you'll have 5 minutes to share.
And I'll
Thank
just
you very
mention,
much.
I'll just mention we had 3 new people join us. So usually I don't let people in after we get started, but I know everybody, so it lets you in. So just a heads up. So it's a little larger group than we usually like to have right now, but yeah. Anyway, go ahead, Leticia.
Thank you, Edwin.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dwayne. And I'm really sorry for my English if it was a little difficult sometimes. I will, Valerie, would you be okay to listen to me?
Hi, yes, I'd love to. Thank you.
Thank you. So when I saw the question Edwin asked, I thought about the education, because I really think the education is one of the key to build this empathic society.
Okay, so what I heard is that when you first heard Edwin's question, which is in a chat in terms of our topic today, how might we build the empathy movement, that the first thing that came to your mind was education, because education is very valuable. The last little bit I didn't quite get, but I think that's what you mean. Correct me if I'm mistaken.
Yes, it's good. And because it's not always easy, in fact, to listen and to talk about our needs. We think we all think we are good listeners, but it's I think it's practice, and we can all improve always with that. It's fabulous.
So what I'm hearing is that you're recognizing that listening and participating in reciprocal reflection is not an easy thing to do, and that we might sort of typically think of ourselves generally as good listeners, because maybe that's our intention. But what you are observing is that that in fact it takes some active practice.
Yes, because we have to learn to observe, and then to listen the feelings and the needs, and to listen the demands people can, the needs people have. Sorry, maybe it's a little, okay.
That's all right. Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that you're saying that the part of the practice that you're really focusing in on in terms of why we need practice is because it's a skill where we're observing, but we're also picking up on people's feelings and what their needs are.
Yes. And sometimes we think we also have to learn about the violence, because sometimes things are violent for some people, but it's not violent for other people. And when something can be violent for someone, it can hurt a lot, and the other won't understand sometimes. So it's very, wow, it's a big thing.
So what I'm hearing you're saying is that one of the areas that we particularly need to be sort of mindful of when people are speaking to us is how they feel and think about violence. And I'm thinking that you're thinking about trauma as well, and how that violence is appraised differently by different people. It affects different people differently. And so when we're listening to someone, we might have our own version of the definitions for violence and trauma, or how people are affected in terms of our judgment, but the art really is in understanding the speaker's perspective with regard to this very important aspect, violence and trauma.
Okay, thank you very much, Valerie, for listening. I felt truly listened.
Thank you.
Excuse me for one quick second, Valerie. Just want to pause for a second and welcome Janet, Melanie, and I think Layla to the group. And Valerie, if you'd like to go ahead and pick your listener. Thank you.
Sure. Jaren, are you ready? Would you like to be my listener, or would you like to observe more?
Yeah, I would.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. For me, I tend to like to have just a moment of silence before I go in, just to reflect on what I'm really feeling. So I'm just going to take some time, and that is part of my time. So I'll speak just when I'm ready. Okay, so what I'm feeling this morning in terms of the topic, and also what's sort of in the moment for me right now, is the importance of building empathy within myself.
Reflecting on the topic of building empathy, and like you're talking about considering checking in with yourself and finding out what's going on internally.
Yes, in terms of like building the empathy inside myself is really important. I think in terms of the topic that Edwin posted, how might we build the empathy movement? For me, the way I see that is really to understand in my body physiologically what that feels like. What does empathy in my body feel like?
For you, like a part of building a culture of empathy involves like recognizing the feeling, actually the visual part of it, even in your own body, of what happens when what you notice, what you're sensing when you have empathy.
Yes, and also because I feel that in order to exercise empathy towards another person, my perspective is that it's rather impossible if I don't have empathy, like a capacity for empathy, an awareness of empathy within my body in the present moment.
So you think that even if you would want to maybe consciously empathize with somebody, it would not be possible, or maybe not in the way that you would like to provide empathy, unless you feel this particular sensation that belongs to empathy, that your ability to receive?
Yes, exactly. I think that it's interesting the way that you reflected that back to me, because it helps me to understand further what I'm trying to say, in the sense that I can express empathy to another person in almost in terms of levels or degrees. So I can express empathy sort of almost in a superficial kind of way, not extremely superficial, but in a way that isn't completely genuine to me. And therefore, if it's not genuine to me, it's not fully genuine to them.
Okay, so you mentioned that there might be certain levels of empathy that you might be able to offer, but that if it's like a superficial level, that you notice it just stays there, maybe.
Yeah, that's good. I feel more depth of empathy in terms of actually having an experience when I'm aware of that empathy in my body, much like eating a meal without any distractions versus eating a meal, watching a movie. You know, I'm not fully present with the tastes that are going inside my mouth and all of that. So it's like that level.
Okay, the level where you think you want to be when you provide empathy to someone is where you're not distracted, like you compare it to eating, where you enjoy your food maybe more when you're not distracted by something else, when you really have only the sensation of what the other person maybe is going to experience.
Yeah, and finally, I'll just offer that I think that being present and being mindful in terms of like how can we promote empathy is really important, because I think that's really the essence of how I can remain aware of what a person is saying, is if I'm mindful and present.
Okay, so the last thing you wanted to share is that being mindful and being present is important in empathic interaction.
Yes, thank you very much, Sharon. I feel fully heard.
Okay, thank you. So I see some. Okay, I'm going to choose Melanie. Would you like to listen to me?
Yes, I just want to be transparent about my time today, because I've got to get ready to check out of this hotel, but I have time to listen to you and maybe to speak, and then I'm going to go. Just it's fine for now, but just I wanted to let you know that I might have to go.
Okay. Yeah, I'm like, just like Valerie, took a couple of seconds to like recover from listening. I kind of had the same thing. But I have to think back on like where I am, like this idea of having like this recognition of how it feels to empathize. I think it's quite something that also relates to how I think about empathy and sharing it. Like maybe you wanna like me to pause here and reflect.
So you, after empathizing, you just needed a moment to get back into your own body and figure out what you wanted to say, get in touch with your feelings, and I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. That's kind of what I said. Yeah, that kind of relates to like recognizing when I'm in that mood of empathizing, or maybe when I'm not, and just acknowledging like, hey, maybe this isn't the time for me to empathize right now. I think that's important too.
Yeah, so just being in touch with, starting with you, when are you ready to empathize? When are you in a mood to empathize? And to be true to yourself. If you're not in the mood, then you wouldn't empathize.
Yeah, and exactly. And that reminds me of like, oh, maybe that brings me to something I wanted to share. Like sharing about building empathy and building movements. I think people have to understand kind of what empathy can do, but also that it requires to be empathized with. But maybe if we cannot really do that ourselves, we maybe need some support from others before we can expect to offer empathy.
Yeah. So again, to be true to yourself, and to, if you can't give the empathy, maybe get some support and get some empathy. And then maybe after a while, you'll be in a better position to give it to others.
yeah, instead of thinking, hey, maybe, because I think it's like a whole different, it opens up a whole different mentality when you really grasp what's going on inside. Well, if you're not there yet, things like the images you have about the other person, which are like maybe evil or like something hateful, it's like there's no way out. It's like true. It must be true because there's no space for anything else. But I think there needs to be some kind of like in the movement which that I see would involve people learning about this change of perception, that it is possible, even though it's not possible to know how it will feel like once you're there, but just have this trust that it might be possible. I guess it's clear.
Well,
it's
no,
not
I
very
think
clear.
I got it. You want the empathy to come from a pure place, a place of being clear inside yourself. You don't want to give empathy if you're in judgment of somebody. You want to make sure that you've done the work on yourself so that you can give empathy in a clear place. You can be present instead of giving empathy in a fake place, like thinking you're an idiot and going, oh, are you feeling?
Yeah, and also that there's like, I think it's also like related to what I do not want the empathy movement to be, is like that you should be empathetic, that you're okay to not be empathetic. I think that's really something that I want people to understand.
So you don't want it to come from a should. You want it to really come from because your heart is open and you're in a place to give empathy, and the energy is there for the empathy flow. And that's really important. You don't want it to come from a fake place.
Yeah, and also, rather not have it, maybe move away and let somebody else take care of it if you think that person needs empathy. But okay, maybe not me, maybe somebody else then for the time being.
Be true to yourself and only give empathy when you're in a space of wanting to give empathy, not out of any should energy. And just knowing, I guess, a space of knowing yourself. To thy own self be true first.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I think empathy requires to be empathized with, which is kind of like, on the way, on one hand, discouraging, because like, well, we don't have empathy, so we don't have the empathy. We need to be empathetic. And on the other hand, oh, okay, that's it. I feel fully heard anyway. When my time is up. I'm getting too much stress to continue anyway. Thanks for listening.
So you got kind of stressed out there at the end. I'm not sure what the stress was about.
Yeah, my time was up. So
your time was up.
Yeah, I'm okay. feel very satisfied with you listening. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. I really like what you said. Okay, let me see. Who should I choose? I guess I can choose Edwin.
Okay, listening.
Yeah, I'm traveling, so my time is all out of bounds, but I'm at a hotel right now. I'm going to check out soon, so I'm going to have to go soon, but and I'm in Southern California. I'm thinking I'm going to drive down to Oceanside today, which I used to live there, so it's kind of a fun adventure.
Yeah, you're doing a fun adventure. You're traveling, so things are a bit hectic, and you're going to need to drop out shortly. Just kind of, you wanted to explain, let everybody know your situation.
Yeah, and but I did want to get a little hit of the sympathy group because I really like this group. I like what you're doing. I think it's a great way to spread empathy, offering these groups. So feeling grateful to you for doing it.
So I think a sense of gratitude that I'm holding these, and you want to get sort of a hit of it, as you could get a little bit of taste of it while you could.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff happening with empathy and NVC lately. Like last week, I was on a resonance summit, and they had these speakers and trainers doing different empathy exercises. It was a lot of fun.
So you're taking part in a conference, NVC conference, and it was just you're seeing there's a lot going on there, and it was a lot of fun for you.
Yeah, I'm glad things are happening with empathy as far as spreading the empathy movement. I totally liked what Jurgen said about not being fake, having it come from an authentic place of heart opening, heart, just love, I guess.
So you'd like to see an empathy movement come from an authentic place, sort of a place of an open heart and love,
Yeah, yeah, I just,
and not being fake in some way. It's like, yeah.
yeah. Mm. Yeah, I think what would really turn off the movement is being fake,
Mhm.
coming from a fake place, not doing your own inner work.
So something that would turn people off from an empathy movement, like, is if it's sort of fake and people haven't really done their own personal work.
Yeah. My books that I wrote are another way that I reached quite a few people in around the world. And that was really fun to spread empathy by writing a book.
So it sounds like you feel good about having spread empathy. And it was enjoyable to spread it by writing a book about it. And that way you kind of spread the message. And you
Yeah.
kind of enjoyed that.
I got a call from this woman in Germany last week, and she left me a voicemail. So I called her back, and her English was, you know, a little slow. And so the call took a long time, but basically she says, thank you for, I'm so glad someone wrote this book. And so she had a request of me, which I won't repeat that, but it was really sweet. But so I hung up, and then I get a text from my phone carrier saying that'll be $78 because it's an international call. I go, oh, shit. It wasn't even my need. I was meeting her need. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, so it's a kind of a funny situation. This person was sharing their gratitude with you that you'd written the book, and you called her back, and sounds like it was satisfying to to be able to hear her gratitude, but then you got stuck with a pretty expensive phone bill for calling her.
Yeah, yeah. But I think what she said that I liked the most was, I'm glad someone wrote this book.
So you're sort of appreciating her just saying that she was glad that somebody wrote this book, and maybe some sense of satisfaction there.
Yeah, I think I was just really touched.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really touched that someone else was touched too, and appreciating what you had done.
Yeah, it makes me feel like I'm contributing in a way that's, meaningful.
Yeah, it feels really good to contribute in a meaningful way, and you kind of get that acknowledgement from others that that your contribution has really contributed to their life.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's just a really important need that I have, is to contribute in a meaningful way to life.
And you're just acknowledging a need that you have, is to have that sense of contribution and in your life. And I think that was the time I saw Dwayne hold up the clock.
Oh, and someone asked me in the chat, I can tell you the title of my book, and then I'll type it in the chat. It's Humanizing Healthcare. And then I've also written a workbook called Choose Your Words. You can get them on Amazon, or you could get them from Puddle Dancer Press. Little plug there, sorry.
Yeah, so you're sharing, somebody asked about your book, and you're just kind of giving the little bit of background info on how to get a hold of it.
Yeah. Thank you, Edwin, for listening. Thank you all for being here and creating an empathy circle. I love it.
All right, great. So I'll speak to Lala. Yeah, so this idea we're talking about, the question was about how do we build a movement? Like, there's been different movements in society, civil rights movement, women's movement, LGBT marriage movement. There's all these different movements. I think we need our own empathy movement to really with the goal of maybe transforming society to make it more empathic, make that a primary social value.
You would like to see empathy take form of a movement, and to broaden its importance and its value in the society, just like we have for other movements, such as the women's movement or some of the other you've noted in the recent years. Yeah, and I think that if these other movements had been empathy movements, it would have helped everyone. So, for example, the women's vote movement, right, turn of the century,
if that would have been about, hey, we want every voice to matter, we want empathy to be a primary social value, that would have helped everyone to feel heard. It's not like just, hey, we get the vote, the women get the vote. It's that we want everyone to feel heard. So I think that was something that was missing from all the different movements, is they're not broad empathy movements. And I think that's what we really need.
You feel what some of these social movements are lacking is putting empathy front and center and making that a core value of those movements, which would, in your opinion, would be more successful if they had integrated empathy from the beginning.
Yeah, so if the women's vote movement had been about, we want to hear all voices and, our voice matters in terms of voting, and we want to have empathy for everyone, and we want people to have empathy between each other so everyone is included, that would have helped the civil rights movement. It would have helped the LGBT movement. I think it's really, that's kind of like the core of the society that at least I want, is that one where, everyone's included, all the voices matter, and we're sort of working towards that goal. Looks
Can
like
you
you
still
froze
hear
there.
me?
Yeah,
it
you
was
just kind of froze.
Okay.
Should I say it again, or did you hear me? Or
Let me try. I heard
Okay.
most of it. So you said the women's movement, it would have been more successful had it included empathy in the movement, because then it would have included all of the needs. And I'm sorry, would you repeat that, please?
yeah, if the women's movement, the initial vote for the women's vote in the United States, at least, it would have been about empathy at the core, saying it's not just about us getting the vote, it's about everyone being heard, right? So that message would have supported the civil rights, vote movement. It would have supported the LGBT. So, and all these groups are kind of going for, hey, we want to be heard. But if you say we want to be heard, but we want everyone to be heard. And that's what I think empathy is about. I think it would have been much more powerful.
So you see that empathy would be a very strong connecting force for different groups. The fact that it's been left out of these movements meant that only isolated ideas and needs are heard from specific groups. Instead, you believe there should be empathy should be broadened and integrated into everyone's movement, so that their goal is to have everyone's needs and injustices heard. So using empathy as a tool would make these movements more connected and more successful.
Yeah, and exactly. And then, so what we need, since they didn't do that, we need from the ground up an empathy movement. So that's what I'm thinking. It's like, how do we build this movement? I was hearing, we need to talk about self-empathy. We need to talk about empathy in the families. We need to talk about empathy in the education and sort of practices for fostering empathy. Yeah.
So you're wondering how to start the empathy movement from the ground up that would include all of the needs that you've heard in today's discussion, people mentioning self-empathy, empathy within families, empathy for the society. So you're thinking, how do we start a movement that could include all of those needs?
Yes, very well heard. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. I'm not really sure who's not gone yet.
Jana's the only one that hasn't gone.
And I recommend that, you ask Jana to be your listener. Yes.
Yeah. Jana, would you be my listener? Great, thank you. So I think Edwin posed a really big question. And so I'll try to break down my thoughts from a few different perspectives, or bucket them into a few different categories.
So you think that Edwin's question of how we might build an empathy movement is a big question, and you're going to try and break it down a little bit.
Yeah, so I agree with some of the discussions I've heard so far. On an individual level and internally, I need to learn empathy as a skill. How do I have empathy for myself and foster empathy within my circle, and have empathy, apply empathy consistently to people around me and integrate it into everything that I do. So having it become a part of me and how I go about my life.
So you feel that you need to develop empathy as a skill, and also how to share that with others in all of your social circles. Is that right?
Yeah. The second part would be then if I want to, or if I'm thinking about turning it into a movement, how do we integrate empathy more systematically into the social infrastructure that we have around us? Hospitals, schools, libraries, workplaces. How do we attach the skill to all these different places that we interact with within our society?
So the second part of sharing the skill with others, or creating an empathic society, a movement for an empathic society, would include somehow creating empathic hospitals, empathic schools, empathic, workplaces, that everywhere the existing infrastructure would somehow be transformed. How do we do that?
Yeah, I don't have the answers. It seems like a very thoughtful process that need to be thought out and then implemented. So I do see it's a great task in its own, and I applaud Edwin and everyone who's in this movement, who's in the circle, kind of making individual contributions. So it does give hope to me, seeing that this is happening more on an individual or group level. So it makes me happy to be a part of it in some way.
So you're happy to see a empathy here in this group and within the individuals of the group, that we're practicing it and that we're together, but how to translate that into society still is maybe a little bit daunting, but you're hopeful.
Yeah, right now it feels more organic and very self-organized, but meeting so many people, on a Zoom platform from all over the world, and seeing how we're all each here to learn and to ideate and think about empathy movement. I hope that we can all each take this back to our own circles and workplaces, and hopefully spreading some of that empathy, values and skills. So I do see there's going to be a ripple effect, a positive effect.
So you're hopeful that each of us will go back to our communities, into our daily lives, and be able to bring empathy into these different settings where we interact.
Yes, and I feel fully heard. Thank you.
Who hasn't got a lot?
Happy to listen.
You want to listen to me, Dwayne?
Of course.
First, I'd like to thank Edwin for letting us in late. And I've been thinking about different empathy groups and sharing the idea with others. I suggested to someone who's an English language learner to take a look at the How to Empathy site, that maybe we could start an English as a second language empathy circle that would be slower paced with, new words in the chat that we could look up, like something like that.
Thank you, Jana. You've been thinking about, well, first of all, you want to thank Edwin for what he's been doing, but also you've been thinking about empathy and different empathy groups and the idea of sharing with others. And you recently suggested to one of your friends this idea about bringing empathy to groups of people who are speaking English as a second language, and using that as a part of as an additional tool in the teaching process of work with people who are speaking English as a second language.
Yeah, and I also shared the idea of empathy circles with the Foundation for Developing Wisdom and Compassion. That's FDCW. I'll put it in the chat. You don't have to remember it. And a wonderful organization that is an educational foundation for universal ethics, about combining empathy circles with universal ethics. And people were very supportive of the idea.
You shared empathy, the idea of empathy circles, with a couple groups that are really important for you. One, I think, is Foundation for Developing Wisdom and Compassion. Okay. And the second one, I didn't get the name of, but both groups were open to the idea of using the empathy circle format, and that you would share the name of the groups with us in the chats later.
Yeah, it's actually one group, and those are synonyms. Universal education and is the education that Foundation for Developing Wisdom and Compassion shares. So it's actually one group and one idea. So yeah, and then so people from FDCW were very, very supportive of that idea.
Okay, and it's actually one group, and the other is a synonym for the universal education component of that group. Compassionate Wisdom.org is the link, and
yeah. So it's all in the chat. I'm sorry, I'm typing while my microphone is on. So I'm making noise here. Yeah, and so yeah, to build a movement, we just keep walking. A movement, Thich Nhat Hanh said pieces every step. So we just make lots of steps, and then we get a lot of movement. That's what I think.
You think it's important in terms of building a movement to keep moving, to keep walking, to take someone else's hands along the way, and that's how we build a movement, to keep walking, to moving, and bringing others along with us.
Yeah, I mentioned Thich Nhat Hanh. He said pieces every step, and Peace Pilgrim, she walked across the United States, and we can be inspired by people who've done it, and just keep following them.
You shared an example of Peace Pilgrim and what she did. She walked across the United States, and people followed her, and that's how you build a movement. You keep moving, you take the hands of others, and keep moving forward, or staying in motion, excuse me.
I feel fully heard, and my time's up. Thank you very much, Dan.
Thank you, and
everyone.
Thank you for allowing me to listen to you. I'm gonna be the next speaker, and I was wondering, Valerie, if you would like to listen.
Just wanted to mention that Maria hasn't, she was the first speaker, I think, and didn't get a chance to listen yet.
Okay. Maria, would you like to be my listener?
Okay. Yes.
Thank you. Wow. It's interesting because I want to reflect back a little bit on what Valerie shared earlier. I think Valerie is one of those incredibly insightful people, and she did a great job of articulating some of my same feelings. So I appreciate that, Valerie, and I agree with what Valerie said. I'll stop there.
So you're showing your appreciation to Valerie because something she said before connect with something inside of you, and you want to say how inspiring she is, and you acknowledge it.
Yes, thank you. And in fact, quite often Valerie says things that resonate with me. I don't always acknowledge it, and so I just wanted to make a point of acknowledging that.
So sometimes before she said something that made sense for you, but you didn't acknowledge it. And today it's an important step, you seeing this acknowledgement and saying it out loud.
Yes. I think that one of the most important things that I can do to contribute to building a culture of empathy and helping to contribute to the movement is the work that I do inside myself.
So the work you do inside yourself, on your opinion, is the most important thing you can do from spreading the empathy movement around to other people.
Yes, and I remember, Layla also mentioned that. I believe that all movements are about individuals and the collective synergistic impact of individuals coming together.
So the movements, people are part of the movement. So it's like an invitation for not seeing the movements as organization, but as humans behind something.
Yes, as a the work that I do on myself, the more I challenge myself to be more compassionate, more empathetic, the more I can contribute to building a culture of empathy and building an international movement of people who are more empathetic and compassionate.
So the more you can navigate inside yourself, the more you can understand and be aware and present in the moment, and the more you can connect with the others.
Yes. And really, being mindful, taking a moment to pause and to be present is an important first step in, as Jana mentioned, in being in movement. That first and most important step is, I think, being still, being in the moment, being mindful, and then continuing to move.
So the first step is to take a deep breath and try you to be present with yourself. So then you can start moving and making something happen from a place of peace.
Yes. And as a part of that, having awareness of how I use language, the words that I choose to communicate first with myself and then the rest of the world is also important.
So you're acknowledging the language you use during your communication, mainly with ourselves. It's important paying attention or that in a way we can to relate with the other, but first relate with ourselves.
Yes, I think it's incredibly important. And actually, I appreciate the way that you, Maria, are reflecting back what I'm saying. It sounds almost poetic, and I appreciate that.
So you are showing your appreciation towards me the way I'm reflecting it back.
Yes. Thank you. I feel fully heard.
Thank you, Doreen, and thank you, Edwin, to remind me and the others that I haven't been the listener before and giving me the chance to do it. Thanks.
And now, Maria, you become the speaker, and you can pick, since everyone is gone, you can pick anyone in the group to be your listener.
Okay, so Edwin, can I pick you?
Me? Yeah,
Um,
listening.
So now I'm feeling relaxed and grateful for having a chance to either be the speaker and the listener.
Yeah, initially you were a bit anxious to begin with, and now you're starting to feel more relaxed and sort of grateful that you had a chance to listen and speak.
And to feel on my body and my heart and everything, the power of the circle. It's really transformative.
You're really feeling the power of the circle now of being heard, and you're finding it's really transformative feeling.
Yes, that I ask myself the question, and how can I spread it with my partner, my friends, and the community that I be a part of.
So you're just thinking, how can you sort of spread this feeling to your partner and your friends and your community?
Yes, and once I think about it, I feel motivated and hopeful that participating in the circles and gives me energy and reminds me how important empathy is.
Yeah, so taking part in the empathy circle, you're thinking, how do you spread this? And it's giving you sort of energy and sort of just reminding you, hey, this empathy is really important.
Yes, and I just need to be present in the moment during my life, to have this energy towards myself, so I can be able to also give myself empathy and give others empathy.
So you're needing sort of that energy, kind of tap into that energy so you can have empathy for yourself as well as empathy for others, and that you've got that source of energy to do that. Motivation, maybe.
Yeah. So yeah, let's do it. I feel fully heard.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go.
Thanks.
So feeling some energy. Yeah, good.
Yes.
Okay, then speak to Valerie.
Yes, thank you, Edwin.
Yeah, I had turned my video off before because somehow my bandwidth was having a little trouble. So I just wanted to explain why I had my video off.
So you're just having a little bit of bandwidth trouble with your internet connection, and you just wanted to start off by explaining that.
Yeah, and I do think that having us sort of frame what we're doing in a movement building sort of a vision, I think can organize the energy, that like Maria is talking about. Oh, I feel this energy, that it gives us a focus for the energy, and then we can start thinking of how do we create this movement. So start coming up with creative ideas that we can iterate on.
So what I'm really hearing you say is that there's so much empathy, that there's so much potential for empathy, that to create a movement, to sort of a framework within which we can play with those ideas and create and generate more empathy and so forth is like the framework itself is very, very important for us to keep focused and work within it.
Yeah, it makes it feel like, hey, we're part of a group, right? We're part of a community. We're not alone. We have a community that we're have this movement with. So there's a sense of feeling of connection too. I think there's a sense of support, mutual support and connection, that we have a shared vision.
So what's really important that I'm hearing you say is the sharing aspect, the connectivity, the community, and all of that intermingling within this group space that actually enables us, motivates us, and it creates an existence that this is a thing, that this is empathy in the real, and it becomes alive.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, that's beautiful. And the other part is that the training that we've been doing is part of building a movement, right? If you take the empathy facilitator training, you're part of, those are some of the skill building for building the movement, as well as the campaign that I'm doing. Like, the campaign is an empathy, it's to build the movement. So I'm using the political process to get the word out about the empathy movement.
Mm-hmm. So there's aspects to this framework that you see in terms of enabling people to practice more empathy and to spread the word of empathy through the facilitator training sessions that are always ongoing. But then there was this other inspired idea in terms of the political aspects and not just keeping the facilitator training sort of at a domestic level, but to expand it out and really to make it more visible, more real.
And part of that is, with the political is to, well, let me just say, I have a candidate statement that I wrote up. It's 250 words, and it's about the deficit, the polarization in the country, and that we need listening, empathy, constructive dialogue. And that candidate statement is going to go out to 411,000 voters in the district I'm running at, because there's 700,000 people in a congressional district. So the word's going to go out to all those people.
Okay, so there was a bunch of numbers in there that I'm not good at, so I'm going to
Yeah, yeah, that's the essence.
Yeah. So basically, in your candidate statement, that's about 250 words, that you have some pointers that you really want to emphasize about empathic listening, dialogue, compassion, things like that are going to go out to thousands and thousands of people. And
411,000.
411,000 people, and that there was another number, 700,000 or 7,000.
Yeah, it's 700 are in the district. The congressional district, the United States, is 700,000 people, but there's only 400,000 that are registered to vote, and all the registered voters get this handbook, and a candidate statement will be there, which says, "Hey, we need more empathy in the world."
Okay, so there's just over half of the people are registered in the district, and so they're going to get the message. So more than 50% of the people are going to get this message.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel fully heard. That was my time. Thanks, Valerie.
Thank you. Okay.
Excuse me for just a moment, Valerie. About how much time do we have left, Edwin?
We have about 10 minutes, so maybe 2 more rounds,
Okay.
or three rounds, maybe. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're up, Valerie, if you want to select your listener.
Yes, please. Lala, I'm sorry, did I pronounce your name properly?
Yeah, that's correct. Lala.
Lala.
Got it.
Would you like to be my listener?
I'd love to.
Thank you. Okay. I'm feeling very peaceful right now.
You're feeling very peaceful at the moment.
And I'm feeling a lot of really wonderful energy in the world in spite of what's happening.
And you are feeling a lot of wonderful energy despite what's happening around the world.
Yes, and I think that's what's bringing us all together into these empathy circles. Everyone that joins, every cohort, every session that we do, and I'm feeling it.
And you believe it's this wonderful energy. That's what's drawing people to these different empathy circle sessions, to each of the cohorts.
Yes, I do feel an expansion of empathy and really, really good energy.
You feel that empathy is spreading, and it comes with this really, really good energy for being in the empathy circles.
Yes, and more than spreading, I feel an expansion. I feel that the beauty inside of us, I feel, is growing.
You feel that the beauty within each person is growing and expanding. So you feel like there's an expansion of empathy.
Yes, and I feel also just a lot of courage. I'm seeing a lot of courage in people, and I'm feeling a lot of courage within myself as well.
You're also experiencing courage. You're noticing it in others, as well as the growth of courage within yourself.
Yeah, and it's it's interesting because the courage is what I think is really going to break us through what I see as an analogy as like that tsunami. That courage, this type of courage, the beauty rising, if you will, is the type of energy that I feel is the kind of energy that is a catalyst to get us through that tsunami. And that tsunami that I'm referring to really is fear.
You feel that the energy that comes from empathy, the courage, and the inner strength that comes from empathy can help us break through the tsunami, the huge wave of fear that you can sense.
Yes, and it's also beauty, I think, in its simplest form. In the subtle body, I feel that it isn't the kind of beauty that we think of in terms of material beauty, but it's that kind of resonant beauty that exists inside us that empowers us. That's the kind of courage that I see.
You also see the inner beauty that is not what we come to understand as external beauty or things that we can see, that is attached to empathy. And it's that beauty, that courage that you sense, or it's that beauty that's giving you courage.
Yes, and it's that beauty that I also see in others, like everyone in this room, everyone in other breakout rooms, everyone that attends these sessions, we're drawn to that beauty, that courage inside ourselves, and we want to express it. This is how we're expressing it, is together in these rooms, and it's just such a beautiful feeling.
And you recognize that being in these empathy circles, these sessions, and these rooms, you see people are drawn to their own courage and their inner beauty. And it's a wonderful thing for you to see. And you're just happy to be able to see that.
Thank you, Layla. I feel fully heard. And thank you so much for just reciting that back to me in a way that I really feel really heard.
No problem. Thank you. Dwayne or Edwin, do you want me to pick anyone, or is there someone who hasn't gone? Sorry for joining a little bit late. I'd like everyone to get a chance.
I think Duran, Leticia, or Jana would be good candidates.
Jeroen, am I saying your name correctly? Would you be my listener?
Yeah, it's Jeroen. It's almost, yeah.
Jeroen. Jeroen.
Yeah, I would like to listen. I would love to do that. Yeah,
Thank
great.
you. Well, let me think for a second. It's good to get my thoughts in order. I find sometimes it's a little bit easier for me to think about what I want to say before just starting.
Yeah, giving you some time to think.
I guess I'm going to go back to the topic of today, which is how might we build the empathy movement? And let me reflect back on some of the things that I felt I've done in the past few months that's been successful. I can't hear you, by the way. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah. So you want to? I muted myself apparently. So you want to go back to the topic of the building a movement of empathy, and also you're reflecting back on things you have done already the last couple of months.
Yes. So one thing that I tried to practice is to be more mindful and to really have empathy for others in my everyday activities. And what I found that it's helped me to build better relationships with my friends, my family, and my coworkers.
You're practicing mindfulness and trying to empathize with people in your daily life, which is actually sounds like you're actually having positive results with your family, friends, and your, I don't know, the third one maybe work, I'm not sure.
My coworkers, my colleagues.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It helps me to be okay with differences that are recognized between me and others. And it helps me to, usually when I say we agree to disagree, there's a little bit of frustration previously behind that phrasing whenever I use it at work. But now I'm truly okay with it. It's okay to disagree on things, to have different perspectives, as long as we have that understanding that there are differences.
Okay, so before you had like this, like kind of like sort of an ending which wasn't really satisfying, a little bit frustrating, where you kind of said, okay, let's agree to disagree. But now you find that practicing this empathy and mindfulness, you actually find that you are much more maybe at peace with the differences that you find, that you recognize.
And in turn, very strangely, others have found me to be more agreeable, which is great, that I'm a more agreeable person.
So other people actually noticed that you actually seem to be more agreeable, which you see as something possible that seems to make it easier to interact with them.
Yes. I've also integrated in the practice of empathy, or deep listening, active listening, some of the skills that I've learned in the empathy circle, and I've integrated into our employee training at work. So whenever we have training surrounding communications, effective meetings, I would add elements of empathy, skills that I've learned from the empathy circle, and turning them into actual hands-on activities. And they are really well received at work.
Okay, so you're actually implementing the things you've learned about active listening, deep listening, and the empathy circles at work in the meetings that you're doing there. And so you're happy that you're kind of like able to actually share this effectively with the people at work and everybody can enjoy it.
Yes. And I guess my last point I want to say is, even though some people may not want to be committed to practicing empathy, there are other values that having empathic skills can bring to the workplace, can bring to business. So there's another way or another inroad, I guess you can find to introduce empathy to places where they were previously never valued or prioritized.
Okay, you're saying that there's some people that don't actually value empathy very much initially, but you found a way to actually interest them by other advantages that may actually benefit them.
Thank you. I feel fully heard.
Okay, thank you.
We have about 3 minutes, Dwayne, or 2.5.
Oh, okay. What I'd like to do is to just go around and give people an opportunity to share for a few seconds, maybe 20, 30 seconds, and beginning with Iran, since you didn't have a chance to speak. So if you'd like to start.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, 30 seconds is not as much as usual. Yeah, I had an idea I wanted to share, which like, okay, if you really want the empathy movement to be like public, we want to have it public being shown. I thought about just like focusing on topics that are like people are interested about and finding a couple of public figures or people that people see as like the interest that they are interested already in, and then putting together an empathy circle. And then I think it's really powerful to demonstrate it, not just to talk about it, but on something that people are interested already in. So take their interest and add empathy to it, rather than try to interest people in empathy in general.
Thank you. Is there anything anyone else would like to share in our last couple of minutes?
I wanted to say something about something Jeroen said, that empathy can be a strong intention, and we can develop that to be a constant intention and not just a fluctuating mood. It's not just how we feel, but it's our motivation, our intention, our determination to empathize, whether I feel like it or don't feel like it. Kind of like, yeah.
Thank you. We have about a minute left. Anyone else? Or anything anyone else would like to share? Well, then I would like to thank everyone for participating and contributing to a really meaningful conversation. I really enjoyed this experience, and I think this type of experience reflects the magic of an empathy circle. And I agree, it's really important that it's an intention that I want to carry with me on a regular basis, and that I'm going to continue to do the work that I need to do to help contribute to this movement. So just want to, again, thank everyone for your participation in the work that you're doing in your individual lives. So thank you.
Thanks for facilitating, Dwayne, too. That's great. So we're going to you'll get another chance to debrief with the full group. So they're coming back in about 30 seconds. Yes, not everybody got a chance to go a second or third time since we're kind of a larger group, but that's okay.
Well, hopefully everyone will come back and participate again.
Absolutely, yeah. I think we'll be talking about some next steps in the full group. 1 second, here they come. Welcome back, everyone. What we want to do now is have a short debrief for each person. Maybe take 30 seconds and share, put the post in there, 30 seconds each to share what are some highlight ideas for building the movement that came up, or any sort of insights. I don't know, Larry, do you want to call on people to
Sure.
debrief that? Keep time.
All right, Valerie, can we start with you? How was your experience in the empathy circle? And was there any suggestion for how we might build the empathy movement? Any thoughts on that topic?
Oh, thank you, Larry. You know, I'm so full right now. I just had a really wonderful experience. I'm just feeling a lot of peace. I experienced in the group just courage. Courage is a word to me right now that is very salient. It's resonating with me because of just the beautiful courage that gets brought into these spaces. And, you know, Dwayne had a beautifully courageous words to share with me that just filled my heart the moment he spoke. And it demonstrated to me just the affect, the rippling affect that our courage, when we have the courage to just be beautiful, how we don't know how that's going to affect and who that's going to affect and how, but just to have that courage within ourselves and to give ourselves that gift. And by expressing that gift that we give ourselves by sharing it with another is just amazing. So I feel really, really blessed right now. I'm so thankful for all of you being in this space right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. And BJ, would you share on your experience of today's empathy circle? And if any thoughts came up on how we might build, you know, the empathy movement?
Okay, yeah, I enjoyed my group, and it was really interesting and thought-provoking, I guess is what I want to say. And I am so excited for Ed. I am really excited for the whole process with empathy listening circles. And I guess one of the things that came to my mind was mantra and a motto, and what that might look like. And I heard that we listening, I love that. I really love that we listening. But I also thought about, you know, how various political groups have things like the GOP, the Democrat, the Green Party, and they all stand for something. So one of the things that I thought about when it comes to empathy listening circles, you cannot talk about empathy listening circles and not think about how there are times when you're going to be uncomfortable because you're going to be dealing with people that don't look like you, talk like you, or walk like you. So I was thinking about anti-racism, anti-ableism, working, you know, defending people with disabilities and defending those people who have mental illness, because those are some of the things that are that I think should be important to empathy listening circles. And there's more, but I'll stop there.
Thank you, BJ. And Anne, would you share, please?
So busy listening, I wasn't quite ready. Yeah, it was an interesting circle that we had, and for me, it took me quite clearly to some strongly held beliefs about humanity that I have, about how we come into this world and our basic characteristics that we actually all do share.
Thank you,
Thank
Anne.
you.
Thank you, Anne. And Jeroen, would you share, please?
Yeah, I really love to hear people being enthusiastic about empathy. I shared some things that I have doubt about the movement or might be possible. As I feel like it's like we're just scratching the surface here. So I'm just enjoying having a meeting around this topic, really. And it was really a wonderful meeting.
Thank you, Jeroen. And Dwayne, would you share, please?
Sure. To begin with, I just wanted to thank Valerie, Yaron, Jana, Layla, Leticia, Maria, Gabriella, and Edwin. I had a really enjoyable conversation with our group, and thank you, Valerie. Your words also touched my heart, and I found myself being able to identify and connect with a lot of what was being shared in our group, and it was really really positive, uplifting experience to um, hear my thoughts and other people's words and their voices um, as their own original thoughts, but they were aligned with what I believe and what I think is important, and that's one of the, I think, really part of the magic of an empathy circle is being there, being mindful, and being able to connect with the really beautiful messages and thoughts that are being shared. And I again thank you for everyone that was in our group, and thank you Edwin and Bill and Larry and all the other people that help bring us together, and all the people out there who do this on a regular basis.
And thank you, Dwayne. And Jana, would you share, please?
All right. Thank you, Larry. For me, this is my first experience in participating in this empathy circle, and I must say I learned a lot because I was following carefully to understand the practice and how people are sharing. So I've learned more about, if possible, I think diversity in various sharings, and I have also learned in how you engage and listen to people, especially at every level, whether in the political setting or in the professional setting, discussions and so on, community discussions and the rest. And I also learned that we can also carry out this campaign for empathy circles in various communities, in schools. We can do that by which, if we do that, it is going to help to build a culture, a world culture where people see empathy first before they engage in discussions or before they prepare themselves to go for various discussions. Instead of going with a gun, it's good to go with a mind with full of compassion and trying to understand the point of view of the other persons. So I really thank you for this opportunity, and I look forward to learn more.
Thank you, Jane. And Jana Weiss, would you share, please?
I'm very happy to be here, and thank you, Edwin, for letting me in late. And thank you for our group, and it's wonderful to hear the sharings as well. And we are growing empathy, so thank you.
Thank you, Jana. And Lala, would you share, please?
Sure, yeah. So it's been another wonderful session that I attended. Something kind of struck me towards the end of the discussion, something Jeroen had mentioned, how do we build a movement is by attacking some of the more like hot topics, kind of joining debates and take on difficult discussions with, from an empathic perspective. Come in, have difficult conversations with empathy. I do believe it is very important for us to hold conscious of our intention to be empathic in trying to understand others, building bridges. But at the same time, it also reminded me that it's important to keep my inner compass. It's one thing for me to understand the other side and different perspectives and listen to other people with empathy using my empathic skills, but it's also important to, I guess, fortify my own value-guided principles. So, not losing sight of what my values are while trying to understand others. So just some thought that came to my mind.
Thank you, Lala. And Letitia, would you share, please?
Thank you. Yes, I really feel in peace. I really enjoyed to listen what everybody said, and what you said, Valerie, about the connection with the body really helped me to make me feel connected with myself and my needs. And thank you so much for that. And I will ask again to Edwin, could you please send me the recording of this conversation, because I would like to hear what the other group said about this question, and listen again, because a lot of ideas were developed and it was really awesome to listen.
Thank you, Letitia. And Maria, would you share, please?
Yes, thanks. I feel grateful for being a part of the circle. So I want to thank you all. Thank you, Edwin, for starting the movement. So I feel recharged and encouraged and happy. So now I'm relaxed. I started feeling anxiety. So now I'm feeling relaxed and grateful to you all. Thanks.
Thank you, Maria. Yeah, I just love these empathy circles. Thank you all for sharing. It's just like Dwayne was saying, each person is kind of sharing the heart and soul of everyone. It's like we're all speaking to one another, through one another, the true human one another, the empathic human one another. So to build an empathy movement, let's have more empathy circles, yay! And get Edwin elected, yay! So I love this empathy circles. So I don't think I missed anyone. If I left anyone off, if I missed anyone, let me know. Otherwise, Edwin, how was your
Bill,
experience?
I think, did you go, Bill?
Oh, did I miss Bill? I'm sorry, Bill.
That's okay. That's fun. It's lovely thoughts. The only thing that I'll add is certainly people who might be viewing this recording, or any of you, can see the contrast that we are not in an empathic culture right now. And the analogy I'll use is someone who talked about Dr. Martin Luther King's talking about love. And they said, well, you know, this whole love thing, it doesn't work. And so the analogy was, it's sort of like love is like the water that puts out the fire. There is, it's the right thing to do, but there's just not enough love. If you take a cup of water to a big fire, it's not going to put the fire out. But if you start to add on more and more water, it is the solution to the problem. So I encourage all of you listening in here today to be one of those empathic drops of water to add to our movement to build a culture of empathy. So thank you all for coming and being those first drops of water. Edwin?
Okay, yeah, so for my debrief, I really got tuned into the felt experience. So I was hearing these words like, and it's the feelings, I think, that is going to motivate a movement, right? It's like, how do we feel is going to be the motivation for a movement. And I heard, for me, it feels good. I mean, it just feels, the empathy feels good. I think Carl Rogers, he had a quote, which I love. He's like, empathy feels damn good. So, but I heard feelings like positive, uplifting, wonderful, at peace, relaxed, openness and courageous, a feeling of expansion, sort of a feeling of self-groundedness and centeredness, and also learning and growth. And I think it's those type of positive feelings that will drive a movement, and it will energize a movement. So in terms of next steps, there's a question about the recording. This will be recorded and I'll post it to our website. I was looking for the link to the, let's see, I can't find it right away, to the, so the training website and our email list. So if you can subscribe to our Empathy Circle email list, I'm going to just quickly put the link in here, see if I can find it. So that's just a way of being on our list. I'm going to put two links into the chat. So the first one is the events calendar. You can see the upcoming empathy cafes. There's a link there. You can click on that. And the second is the development, our email list group. So if you go there and you subscribe to the email list, you'll get the ongoing announcements, and I'll put a link in at some point to this session. We didn't record both empathy circles, just the one that I was in, but maybe in the future we can record both, because part of creating the movement, I'm looking at how do we harvest, document, organize the insights. And I had posted a Google Doc, a shared doc that I took notes in. And so I'm trying to figure out how, maybe the silent listeners could be documenting what they're hearing, and we could create reports. So it's something we want to move towards. It's not just, we're just not doing the listening, but also sort of capturing the insights and organizing, and maybe creating some documentation, articles or something. So those are a few things. The other is next Monday, if you see the events calendar link there, you'll see that next Monday, Bill and Ann and Larry are hosting, and others, Dwayne, are hosting Intro Cafe. It's like today, but it's more for the training, preparation for the training. That will be every Monday until May 9th, when the next cohort starts. We have the next Saturday, we'll be here doing again the same topic. So we'll just keep sort of iterating and kind of harvesting the insights about how do we build a movement. And then starting next week, right after this cafe, we're going to be starting an Interfaith Cafe, doing that with Leo. He and I have kind of set that up, so you'll be able to stay for after an hour. We'll have an hour break, but then we'll start this Interfaith Cafe. And something we really need help on is April 25th and 27th. We're holding the Cop Talk Cafe, and we're working together with Police to Peace. It's an organization that's really well connected with the North America police departments. And we're holding Empathy Cafe, and there'll be a lot of police, like police chiefs, from different departments there, and we're going to need facilitators. So if you have done at least 2 or 3 empathy circles, you can come and be a facilitator, just to hold the space, especially if you have done the training. It'd be great if you came, because the more facilitators we have, the more people, police and so forth, and community is we can invite, because we want to have, one facilitator in each circle. So we'll be having more announcements. And if you're on the email list, you'll be getting, regular announcement. I mean, this is going to be huge for us for this policing. It's part of National Week of Conversation. So there's an organization called Listen First. They're a network of over 400 organizations that are trying to foster listening type practices in the United States. And we're part of that with this Cop Talk, as well as the Interfaith. There'll be some cafes during that week. It's April 24th to 30th is that National Week of Conversation. So those are some links, for going forward. Hope to see you next week. It was absolutely wonderful. Everyone, see you all here. Maybe we can just get some jazz hands. Goodbye for now, and look forward to seeing you. Bring those beautiful feelings to the next cafe. So bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Edwin.
Yeah.
How do I get a shirt?
Oh, yeah. It's they're $20. I can mail you one. So just,
okay, I will
send me an email.
You.
Yeah, send me an email, and I've got like 8 or 10 of them left.
Okay,
So,
yeah, I'd like to get one. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, just email me and I'll send you my address, and you send me your address, and we can.
All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye, BJ. Good.
Have a good weekend.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, Jang.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. That's glad you could make it, Jang.